There you go.
There you go.
All right. Welcome, everyone who is here today. We are really honored to have Alan Benavides from the Eugene Emeralds talking about an incredibly important topic to our community, to our chamber. To me personally, I'm a big M's fan, and I really want to emphasize the benefit and the just the belovedness that this team has to our community, and we want to help get the word out about some of the challenges they're currently facing. I'm Brittany Quickwarner, President and CEO of the Eugene Chamber, and this is our Committed to Community webinar series. We started this at the beginning of the pandemic as a way to try to bring information to the business community. Things were happening really quickly. We were having 3 of these a week, just trying to get information out there, and got a lot of great feedback about this format being a way to help educate folks. So we've with the benefit and the support of Oregon Community Credit Union, we've been able to continue this series. We're incredibly grateful for them as our sponsor. And today we're going to talk about the M's and the need that they have for a new stadium and all of the good work that they do in our community. So without further ado, we're going to toss it over to Alan, and you have a presentation that you're going to share, and then we're going to open it up for questions at the end. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, if you're in the Zoom meeting, you can put your questions in the chat, and we will make sure that those questions get to Alan. If you're joining us on Facebook, hello, welcome. We're excited to have you. You can go ahead and put your questions in the Facebook comments section, and we'll make sure that those get asked of Alan on the webinar as well. And then we will send this out afterwards with information that he shares, so you can have that to digest on your own. So we will get started. Let's go. Hey, thanks, Alan.
Hey, thanks for having me. I have my gardeners just showed up, and of course at the worst possible time. So I'm trying to find the quietest part of the house, but it's unbelievable. I told them, oh my God. Anyways.
We can't hear them, so you're good.
All right. Well, it's loud. I am going to share my screen here. All right, can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, good. Hey, everybody. My name is Alan Benavides, and I'm the general manager for the Eugene Emeralds. I've been in this position for the last 12 years. I actually signed with the team back in 2000, at the end of 2009, and my first day was January 10th, Sunday, in 2010. I've been very proud to run this team for the last dozen years, and we've had some really great success. Although it was a tough start, we've had some really great success. For the last several years, we were a Padres affiliate, and then we became a Cubs affiliate in 2015. And just recently, we became a San Francisco Giants affiliate. That happened in 2021. And it is an extremely exciting partnership to have the San Francisco Giants as our affiliate. They are the biggest team in market, most fans, and we're very lucky to have them. But as you may or may not know, and I'm gonna go a little bit of history here. You know, we've been a short season club for the last 47 years. And I'm not gonna read all this. This is gonna be something that you guys can have if that the chamber can email you. But just to give you an idea, we've been a short season team for 47 years since 1975. Because from 1969 to 1974, we were a AAA team. And everybody remembers those days when we were, you know, Mike Schmidt and Larry Boa and those big AAA days. But right after we left AAA, we were short season. And for the last 4 decades, our season started in mid-June and ended in Labor Day. And so when we signed this deal back with the University of Oregon back in 2009, there was never a thought that we were going to be a long season club. I mean, there was no reason to think that. And so when the realignment happened in 2020, when Major League Baseball took over minor league baseball, they essentially got rid of 40 teams in our business. So 40 different teams in our communities lost their affiliate. And so they don't have baseball anymore. We were wondering what was going to happen to us because short season baseball was going to get cut. So we were afraid that maybe our market, our team would get cut. Fortunately, we had actually promoted 2 levels of baseball. We're now high A baseball, which means that our players are only 2 levels away from the big leagues. And I jokingly say that the biggest difference between short season and high A is 40 pounds, because our players are bigger, they're stronger, they're older. You're seeing more home runs hit more than ever at PK Park. Our players are now between 24 to 26 years old when they were used to be 19 to 21. These guys are studs, they're big, they're athletes, and it's great. It's a great product on the field, and we're really excited about it. But we have a problem. The problem being that we have to share a facility now with the University of Oregon, which wasn't the deal initially. Our season will now go from 76 games to 132. So starting in early April next year, we're going to have 132 games to play. Now, 66 of those games will be home games, which is 74% more games than we did when we were a short season club at 38. That season would, like I said, would normally start in mid-June. Now we're starting in early April. So if you can imagine the kind of, from a business perspective, the ticketing, the sponsorships, the concessions, the facility access for practice, it's really nearly impossible. Now, that's not to say the University of Oregon has been great. They've been accommodating us. They accommodated us this year, because this year we started in early May. We should have started in April. Because of COVID, we got a month delay. Next year, that's not going to be the case. So we actually worked around the Ducks schedule, but it didn't allow us to have a lot of practice. PK Park only has one locker room. So imagine sharing the facility when we don't have any access to locker rooms. So what you'll see in the future for the next few years until we get a stadium built, hopefully, is you're going to see tents out in the parking lot. And that's where our players are going to change and put their stuff down. And frankly, a little embarrassing. But that's all we got right now. University's letting us play there, but the problem that we have currently, and as we're experiencing right now, is that our lease ends September 10th. And so technically right now, our season hasn't ended, and we are playing all of our home games in Tri-Cities. So we're the home team in Tri-Cities right now, playing the bottom of the inning. And that's because we don't have anywhere to play. We just made the championship, so we just qualified. And so the championship series will be in Spokane next week. So it's going to be the Indians versus the Emeralds. None of those games will be played at PK Park, again, because our lease has expired for this year. The Ducks got to practice, get their fall games, their fall practices. That's critical for the university and their student athletes to have access to their facilities. I will say that the facility access for the university, they have to give priority to their student athletes over the Eugene Emeralds. I mean, like I said, when we started this back with the university, never had we thought that we'd be a long season club. So we are now in this hunt for a new stadium. It is undeniable that we are a great asset to this community. We've done a lot of great work over the last 66 years, and especially the last 12 years, we've been ingrained in the community. Our ownership is the Elmore Sports Group. They've owned the team since 1982. Bob Eban had a small stake in ownership when he was the GM, but the team was bought by Dave Elmore in 1982, first season in 1983. We own 7 teams across the country. Most notably, we own the Amarillo Sod Poodles. It's a funny name, but they are one of the most profitable teams in minor league baseball. They do a very good job. They draw a ton of people, and they're a brand new team. The stadium opened in 2019. The stadium was designed by Populous, and they got Ballpark of the Year in 2019. A very well thought out stadium, holds about 7,500 people. And what we're hoping to do here in Eugene is to build a stadium similar to what we did in Amarillo. One of the great things about minor league baseball is that it's more than just baseball. You know, we pride ourselves on being a business that markets not only the game well, but also the experience. You know, we want to make sure that families are coming out, having a good time, friends are coming out, just enjoying each other. Because look, I love baseball, but some people don't. And so we try to create something for everybody, whether it's, you know, some fun beer nights, some promotions on the field, inflatables for the kids, experiences with Sluggo, and just kind of getting out from being at home or watching TV and enjoying a fun game at the ballpark. We've done a really good job doing these things. And for, you know what, nearly 3 million families have come out and enjoyed games with us. We've been recognized by Major League Baseball in minor league baseball as being the top team in minor league baseball. In 2018, we got the McPhail Award for marketing and promotions. And in 2020, we got the Freitas Award for outstanding business practices. And if you remember in 2020, we didn't have a single baseball game. And the reason we got that award was for all of our community service that we did during the pandemic. So a lot of the PPE drives that we did, blood drives. We set up some distribution networks with our hotel partners during those devastating holiday farm fires that happened last fall. So for our efforts, we got recognized by baseball for doing all the things that we did. I'm trying to get my computer here to, there we go. Our team started in 1955, as I mentioned earlier. My screen is, sorry guys. We've been in the market here, you know, currently our 2019 season, just to give you some idea of who our fans are. From the Eugene Springfield area, 85% of our fans are driving to the ballpark. Outside of the area, it's about 15%. And most of our fans are coming from Oregon, which is roughly 97%. Our total attendance in 2019 was 131,467. And since 1955, we've had over 8 million fans come to watch the M's, whether that was at Bethel Park, Civic Stadium, or now PK Park. In fact, in 2019, of our 38 home games, we sold out 26 of those games. So 26 of our 38 home games were sellouts. I might take some questions while this is loading. I don't know why it's taking so long. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second.
Oh, you're good, Alan. If anybody does have questions or things that are popping up, feel free to post them in the comments here. We are getting a couple on Facebook too, so.
As you can see, our fans, this is where they come from. These are the top 5 zip codes: 97401, 02, 477, 405, 478. Our fans are widespread throughout Lane County. Most of them are in Lane County. We draw really well from Florence as well. Our great partners at Three Rivers Casino and the Florence Chamber do a lot with us. And obviously our core is the Eugene metro area. Our goal is to stay in Eugene, obviously, but we are looking at different sites, and I'll get into that in a second. One of the great things that we're really proud of, I mentioned earlier, is our commitment to our community. I don't think anybody could argue against that. We don't do that. In fact, yesterday we had staff at Habitat for Humanity helping out and pulling stuff out and working with the group over there. After we had just moved out of the stadium, after 5 grueling days of moving out of PK Park, our staff was out there volunteering and being part of this community. We helped save the Boys and Girls Club back in 2011 when it closed down. We kept that open with the help of a couple other board members, and continue to do things with Field of Dreams, the Boys and Girls Club, Relay for Life, and have been able to donate hundreds of thousands of dollars, over $1 million, or almost $2 million over the last 12 years that we've been here. What we're calling our project is New Civic Stadium, Project New Civic Stadium. Our dream is to really kind of get a ballpark built back for the community that we can use year round. You know, currently right now we use the stadium for baseball, obviously. We're a bit handcuffed by any outside events that we can do. We can only do so many. Can't really host a lot of concerts, that sort of thing. And we have, but we really want to do more. As I mentioned earlier, we operate our own food and beverage. So we really want to maximize the use of a new stadium for our business. If it sits empty, we're not doing anything. So while we believe that, we know that we're going to bring 66 games, we also know that we can probably bring in another 60 to 70 events. Now, what are those events? Those events can be weddings. They can be OSAA 4A, 5A, 6A state championship and regional championships. I've been talking to the OSAA about moving that tournament to Eugene. Talking about doing concerts, you know, doing about 10 to 12 concerts where we can utilize the stadium, use the seating bowl and use the grass. You know, we currently don't have a facility in our market that can host more than 8,000 people for an outdoor concert. So being able to have a facility that we can not only use for baseball, but also be able to use for concerts in the summer and in the shoulder months would be really exciting for our community. We've been working with Live Nation and Golden Voice and all these promoters with our 7 other stadiums, and really have done a great job in promoting huge events at our venues. In fact, one of our venues in Utah, we just did Maroon 5 and Luke Combs sold out venue at the Salt Lake City Maverick Center. So we have these connections. We do this stuff currently. We want to do that stuff here in Eugene. Currently, like I said, there isn't an outdoor venue that can host that many people. And this venue could do this. The professional baseball stadium that we would like to build, or a facility, it's going to cost anywhere between $40 to $45 million. It's going to bring new jobs in construction, about 504 full-year equivalent construction jobs that have a massive economic output of about $76 million and about $28 million in labor income. But most importantly, what people care about is what's the stadium going to do once we open it? And that's where we're going to really see a lot of dynamic growth. And there's a I don't know why that's spelled wrong, but it's going to spur a lot of dynamic growth. We're forecasted to generate about $31.68 million in economic output with a new stadium. We're going to do about 120, 130 events, including our 66 games. And like I said, the venue for up to 12,000 people will be huge. One of the things that we talk about with economic development is that need for a stadium that can fit between Eugene and Portland. You know, there isn't, like I said, a venue that size that can attract these concerts and these big events. And we believe that we can do that right here in our own market. No joke. The most comparable venue is Sunlight Supply's Amphitheater, and that's in Ridgefield, Washington. That's where these shows are going, and they're missing us completely because we don't have a venue of that size. This stadium can fill that gap, and I know that we can kill it. What about the other months? Previously, when I was the assistant general manager in Lake Elsinore from 2004 to 2009, we did a haunted stadium event, haunted stadiums, where we converted the whole ballpark into a big maze, and we're able to utilize the stadium in those cold months, cold in Southern California. And we would love to do the same thing here in Eugene. Also like to do a holiday show in a Santa's Village at the ballpark during December. But again, the stadium isn't just an asset for us, but it'd be for the community. We'd love to hold, we want to build about 15 to 20,000 square feet of hospitality space enclosed indoors at the ballpark. Be a wonderful site to host graduations and OSA events like I had mentioned. We'd love to also be a part of any sort of like relief efforts that are happening, whether, we need to house some folks on the field. Stadium will have bathrooms, showers, kitchens, where we can help do any sort of relief efforts for our community. And we also plan to have state-of-the-art equipment for like events, video boards, sound systems. So anyways, just a really good piece, I think, of a really great facility that the community could really use. In 2019, the M's had about 280 different groups, meaning different businesses, churches, schools that came out to enjoy the game as a group. They range in sizes. We do a huge event for Kendall. We do a huge event for Jerry's. And that happens annually where we get to take over the ballpark and they do their own thing. And it's been a tremendous, tremendous asset for us to be able to host these large events and for our business and to create some revenue. We expect to have about 250,000 fans over the course of a full season at the new ballpark. Currently, we're about 131,000. And 250,000, to be honest, is a conservative estimate. We believe that we're going to crush that number. But 250,000 is pretty much a guarantee. We believe that we'll sell about 2,000 season tickets, and we will up our full-time staff to over 30 employees to manage the stadium year-round. So that would be event staff, operations staff, sales staff, ticketing staff, administration to run our business. Currently, to be honest, after COVID right now, we're down to about 8 employees, but normally we're running about 14 to 15. And also what we're hoping to do is to create some sort of ticket fee structure that's included in every ticket where we can create a capital fund where we know that the seats are going to fade out in like 8 months. We know that a video board is going to be replaced in 10 years. We know that the turf's going to need to be replaced in 10 years. And so as we can build a capital fund through, a $1 ticket fee that we can put in annually, we can forecast all the repairs that we're going to need to do for the ballpark rather than having to go back to the city or the county or the state about, hey, we need X dollars so we can fix this. We'll pre-plan those expenditures ahead of time so that we can fix those and keep the stadium looking beautiful. A quick analysis of what the team does. In 2019, our economic output was about almost $9 million. We had full year equivalent jobs, about 112. and 2.5 million in labor income. If you put that, compare that to what the new stadium economic impact would be, we're looking at about an economic output of almost about $31.5 million, 291 full year equivalent jobs, and about 8.69 million in labor income. If we look at like hotel impact on what that does, we currently did about 3,300 room nights in 2019, and it's going to go up drastically with concerts and all the events that we need to do to run a successful business. So as you can see in the concert events business, it goes up over 15,000 rooms just from the events that we're going to do at the ballpark. This was a study done by Eco Northwest, and actually it was done on 9/8. So there's a lot of benefits to this new stadium, but some of the questions that I know we're going to get asked is, well, Alan, where are you looking? Right? That's the number one question we get. What are you guys thinking? Look, we've been looking at about 24 sites. We've been at this for about 8 months, not long, about 10 months. And we've gone everywhere from Chad Drive, the airport, Golden Gardens, the racetrack down West 11th, Sierra Pines in Springfield, Booth Kelly in Springfield, Glenwood, Gateway. And some of the favorite sites that we looked at were Valley River Center. Valley River Center is I think we could really do something special there. But we're looking at that. That's not by any means, those are just conversations. We've talked about Glenwood, as you may have heard, that's been in the news a lot. We've talked about the West 11th, the racetrack out there. Talked about Golden Gardens. We've talked about Fairgrounds. We've talked about, but we have nowhere in sight. Nothing's been solid. What we're doing right now is we're looking at everything that's kind of available and trying to whittle down what can fit our timeline, because our biggest obstacle isn't so much money, but it's time, right? We have to build a stadium in 30 months. Yeah, 30 months. We have to have a stadium. April of 24, we got to open a stadium. Major League Baseball has told us 2025, but our agreement with the University of Oregon, the university would like us to be out by the 24 season. Now, we're trying to meet that deadline as best we can. 30 months to find a site, find the funding, and start building, which means that we need to have a shovel in the ground next September. And I know everybody's going, oh, it's impossible. We've got a lot of great people working on this. We've spoken to a lot of folks, a lot of staff. There are a lot of people trying to make this happen. I believe that this community really wants to save the team. There's a lot of goodwill. We have a lot of capital and goodwill for the team right now. And so we're hoping that we can find a way forward to make this happen. We currently are starting a website called saveourms.com, where you can upload pictures and talk about stories about what the stadium meant to you when you were a kid, at PK Park, at Civic Stadium, even Bethel Park. We would invite you to please go to saveourms.com, go to Save Our M's, or we have a group page on Facebook. So if you'd like to join that as well. And also, if you text this number on the bottom, 855-340-5357 with Save Our M's, you'll get put in our text chain where we are kind of telling people, call to action items of what you can do to help us. We're not looking for money from the public. We're not a nonprofit. And the money part's the second question everybody wants to talk about. So the second question, and I know it's going to come, I haven't seen the questions yet, but I'm sure that's one of them. Like I said, stadium's going to cost $40 million. We do not have $40 million, but we do have some. And we're not coming to people in the state, in the city, and the county begging for money. We're coming into this project with $10 million as seed money to hopefully get a match, a quarter of the bill to get this going. A lot of teams, a lot of stadiums, they don't put any money in, but our owners have been committed to this community, understand how important it is to keep this team here. And we're coming in with $10 million to get the stadium built. Like I said, money is an issue. We're working with that. We're working with the state, and we're looking for money and some federal dollars. And we're looking at a variety of options to get the funding gap bridged. But really what we need to find is a site. We need to finalize that. And we're hoping to have that done probably in the next 4 to 6 months. Hopefully not that long. We don't have a ton of time. So if you want to text this number or follow us on Facebook, that would be wonderful. But together we want to create something. We want to create a destination that's just not Emeralds baseball. You know, it's got to be about our community. It's got to be how do we use the facility year round. It's got to be about high school kids using the stadium for baseball. We're hoping to create a training center at the ballpark for baseball and softball. You know, and this is a totally separate subject, but as somebody who runs a baseball team and somebody who had a kid that went through high school, the fact that we don't have any hitting cages in this community is crazy to me. So one of the things that we want to create is, we want to create a training center, what would be our training center for our baseball team, but that we could use year round. So there'd be cages in there with machines, an enclosed training area for baseball and softball that our families and our community and our kids can use to enhance the game of baseball as they're going through their journey. So as I mentioned, we've won a ton of awards over the years. In fact, we won the Golden Bobblehead 8 years in a row, which is like our Oscars for minor league baseball for marketing and promotions. I said Freitas Award this last year and the McPhail Award for marketing. We've had some really great players come through here. Most notably, Trey Turner played here for the Emeralds back in 2014. Trey Turner, who's now one of the biggest stars in Major League Baseball with the Dodgers. Had Mike Schmidt, David Freese, some huge players come through our community. But more importantly, I think what we've done is we got Sluggo, we got the kids that come to games, and we've got a community that I think really loves the team. We're hoping to build a team back in the community where people can ideally walk to, ride their bike, and like kind of have that Civic Stadium field. I don't think we'll ever rebuild Civic Stadium in that wood structure, but I believe that we can build a stadium and a facility that will resemble that feeling and have something that belongs to us as a community. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that we can get the team back into the community and that you guys can appreciate. So I think that's about, I don't even know how long that is, Brittany.
That's perfect.
So
Awesome.
I could talk forever. So.
Awesome. If you want to stop sharing, yeah, there you go. So we do have a couple questions that have popped up in the chat here that we can go ahead and get started with. And as Alan is answering some of these, feel free to keep sending them our way. You started to touch on this a little bit, so I'm going to let you kind of expand on it. But we had a question from Facebook, actually from Matt Keating, one of our elected officials at the City Council of Eugene, and I know a big M supporter himself. He asked Alan, through the years of storied M's community involvement, what are examples of current or former players giving back to the Eugene community?
Current or former players?
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy that comes up to mind the most is probably George Mcpherson. George Mcpherson is our official scorer. He participates a ton with our events that we do. And he was on the championship team in 74 and 75. The team had a huge impact on him. He's not from Eugene, but decided to make his roots here and has lived here for a long time. So those are, and I would say that being a short season club, we've kept in touch with a lot of players. And in fact, a lot of friends have commented on Facebook, hey, Alan, go get it. Like, we got to get the stadium built. Former players, they still care about it. But because we're so, they're not from here, we haven't had a huge resource with them. But we have a lot of folks that are very, like, we just released our encyclopedia that fans have been buying up like crazy. But more, I would say half of the sales have gone to players who have fond memories of being here in Eugene. So
that's awesome. Thank you. Someone asked, what's the current seating capacity at PK Park, and what would the new stadium be?
So the current seating capacity at PK Park is about 2,700 fixed seats in the bowl, with about 500 seats in bleachers, about another 400 in picnics, standing room and suites. We're probably looking at close to 4,000. We've crammed in 4,400, pack, but that's not a good experience. What we're hoping with the new stadium is we're hoping to do about 3,500 seats. We want to wrap around concourse so that you can walk a 360 around the whole stadium. So we'd love to see like berm seating out, like a spring training facility, mm-hmm. where you can put a blanket out there and sit out there and maybe have, a cocktail or some beverages and lunch and dinner or whatever it is, but also really give it a more stadium feel to it. I'd like to address, I think, Kay Winchell's comment. So she asked, curious why MLB would walk away from a practically new Volcano Stadium in Salem and how that relates to why they would choose to stay here in Eugene. I don't really have an answer for that. It's a good question. I wouldn't say it's new. The stadium was built in 1994, and it's about facilities. It's about, the new MLB regulations really want state-of-the-art facilities. And, for its deficiencies, PK Park is absolutely gorgeous from a facility standpoint for training. The hitting cages are great. The facility and the surface is wonderful. The dugouts are huge, but that's about it. The locker rooms are inadequate. There aren't female locker rooms for female coaching staff, umpires, trainers, and that sort of thing. And in our business, we're seeing a lot more, thankfully, more women coaching, more women as umpires, more women that are coming in as staff, and we don't have facilities for them. And so that's something that's not just a Eugene problem. That is a industry-wide problem. So, and the issues going on with the M's, we're not the only team going through this. Hundreds of teams are going through what we're going through right now. So it's not unique to us.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. One of the questions, my Q&A went. There it is. What are some actionable items that community members can take to support the new stadium efforts?
Well, we're currently on saveourms.com and then our Facebook page. We're hoping people can upload photos and whatnot, join our text campaign. And here shortly, what we need is we need our elected officials just to hear that this is important to them. That keeping the team is important, right? And so, like I said, it's hard to do that when you don't have a site. But I think they would like to hear if it's important for us to keep the team here. I think that's what we need. I think that's what we would like to see our community and our fan base do, is to fight for the team and make sure that it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I can expand a little bit too on that piece of it. Building infrastructure in any community takes investment, whether it's from a private industry investor or a government investor. And I think that projects like this in a lot of other communities, they approach them differently everywhere you go, right? There's some communities who will put a ton of local government funding into building a stadium like this because the economic impact it has for the community. And as Alan mentioned, the M's are not coming to the conversation expecting that they're just going to get that sort of level of support. Our community has tons of priorities and issues and competing, problems, I guess, if you want to phrase it that way, that we need to address. But it doesn't mean that one needs to be prioritized over the other in the sense that we just completely ignore one. And so I think that that's where the chambers really recognize that there is a community impact. There is an economic impact. The M's are one of our largest employers if you look at the number of employees they have in the community. And so it is important to our jobs base and our economic base. And so that's something that is not lost on us. I think that making sure that, like Alan said, our elected officials understand that this is an entity that is important to our community and that they bring a whole lot more to the conversation than just the 60, or so baseball games that they're going to continue to play. So I think that, as the process continues and as sites come up as specific options, there's going to be, it's going to be located somewhere, and people are going to want to hear if neighbors, if community members are supportive of those locations. So staying engaged, I think, is important. This is one of the first kind of conversations of many that we'll likely have to have as a community if we're going to be able to accomplish this goal.
Yeah. Jeremy is asked, who chooses if the team stays or goes, local politics or the owner? It's a really good question. I'll tell you what, it's not the local politicians and it's not the owner. It's Major League Baseball. And if they're watching, don't be mad at me, but it's true. Major League Baseball actually decides on this. I mean, if we don't have a stadium, we don't have some sort of like something in the works, probably within the next year, they're going to start looking for another community. And I would say like Vancouver, Washington, or somewhere in Southern Washington, it's going to be a really good destination for them. They lost out to the Hillsborough Hops. And maybe I don't know. I mean, that's just a guess, but it wouldn't be local politics and it wouldn't be the owners. In fact, if there was a team to open up somewhere else, it's not our owners moving. They're literally going to take the ownership of this team and move it somewhere else. So the M's won't be moving to Vancouver Emerald, or whatever you want to call it. Like that's not like the M's are gone. They don't exist. They cease to exist. Owners lose the team. Everybody loses. I'm looking for a job. Like that's what happens.
Yeah, I think that again, the question kind of comes down to if our community does see this as a priority and we can come together to find a location that works and fund it, then that's kind of how we are able to say that we're choosing to keep the team and decide that they stay. And it's a big undertaking, but not one that I think is impossible by any means.
Yeah, it's not. And I'm laughing because Major League Baseball is watching. This is an asset for this community. And I believe that we have the will to get nice things for our community. I think this is something that, I'd like to tell just a quick story. I'll always remember when I first moved here, somebody told me, and Brittany, I've told you the story, that I had an old season ticket holder. You know, we lost 75% of our season ticket holders when we moved to the University of Oregon. We had to rebuild that base. And I had this one gentleman, I called him and I said to him, so why aren't you signing? We have this new stadium. Why aren't you re-signing with us? And he called me and he tells me on the phone, he goes, you know what? He says, when you folks decided to move to the university, you ripped out one of our cherished assets in Eugene, like something that belonged to us. I'll never forget that. I didn't understand that at the time. He goes, the Eugene Emeralds belong to this community, and now it's gone and it's tied up with the university. You'll never see me there. And I didn't quite understand that, but I do now. And after being here for 12 years, I understand that the M's are a very special team to this community. They've been a tradition for decades. And I think that once we build this new stadium, we'll get a lot of those old fans back that haven't gone to PK Park, and we'll bring our current fans and really build something special for the community. So I'm hoping that this happens because it has to, right? It has to.
I'm trying to see, do we have another question here? Okay. How long has this process looking for building new stadium location been going on? In other words, when did the MLB inform the Eugene Emeralds of the new stadium requirements?
January-ish. So we got word late December that we were going to high A. And so, when that list came out, whenever it was December or late December, and we were going to high A, we were floored. We were like, what? And that's when discussions started happening with the university, trying to figure out how we could make it happen. It quickly noticed that it wasn't going to work. So we've been looking since January-ish for sites. We like I said, we've started with about 24 sites, and we looked at what was, for example, we looked at Valley River Center and we looked at these other ones. And while some of our favorite sites, Valley River Center is an amazing site. Who would want to go there? But there's a lot of issues with it. It's privately owned. There's a lot of the businesses. Believe it or not, parking is an issue because there are leases and whatnot. So it's unlikely. We'd love to pursue it. But other sites have come up. Glenwood, we've been talking to Glenwood for a while. There's Golden Gardens. Golden Gardens is a possibility in the airport. And I mean, there's a ton of sites, but we're trying to figure out, for us, I would say the biggest obstacle isn't so much money, but it's time. So which site is going to get us in time so we can meet that deadline?
Jeremy asks, what is the plan for renewing the contract with U of O and PK Park?
Yeah, so we are currently in discussions with the university about adjusting the contract so that we can be there for a few years while this all gets sorted out. Because our lease is technically June 1st through September 10th. And so all these April and May games, they fall out of the purview of our current lease. And the university has been very gracious in accommodating us. And so that is currently happening now, but there isn't a situation where we're going to adjust the lease so that we can be there for the next 10, 20, 30 years. That's not going to happen. It's a very short-term goal to get the team, to keep the team playing games here while we figure out the new stadium. And that hasn't been finished yet. We're still negotiating that. So it will be more lease payments. We're gonna have to, we'll have to spend a bit more money to be there just because we're gonna be playing more games. So.
One of my staff just text me. My dog's barking in the background, and I'm like giving him the mean, the mean look. Oh, the joys of working from home. Alan, I'm curious a little bit if you can share just some of the support that you've gotten so far. I know that there are a lot of challenges that we face, but we've also seen a ton of people kind of come around both in local government at the state level. And you guys have had a lot of really great conversations. And I would say that's one thing to be optimistic about is the level of support and interest in getting creative around this issue.
Yeah, we've had a lot of folks reach out to us about wanting to help, make sure that the team stays, make sure the team goes to certain parts of town. I think people all would like to see it go in their district or their ward or wherever, right? But it's really about finding the right spot that fits our timeline. But we've had a ton of outreach from politicians and from citizens and from the chamber and from the city of Springfield and city of Eugene. And, my first worry at first, to be honest, and I'm just saying that, and Brittany, don't get mad at me, but I understand there's the Eugene chamber thing, but like, I really want to keep the team in market. And so the city of Springfield has been very aggressive in talking with us as well.
We're all one big community in my mind. I would never be mad about that.
No, I know, but like I used to think it could only be in Eugene, right? We're the Eugene Emeralds. But as we continue through this process, we have to keep all our options open. And we've had a ton of support, a ton of people who want to keep the team here. So it's been I'm sure we're going to get opposition, and I'm sure we're going to get people that say, oh, leave then, no. But I think the far majority of people want to see us stay. And hopefully that's, we'll see that play out with outreach from our local citizenry to politicians and whatnot when we need decisions need to get made, but we're not near that yet. We still have a bunch of work to do. How many acres do you need for a new stadium? So that's a good question.
How big is your property, Matt?
The question is really about money. The smaller the area, you could probably build a ballpark on as small as 5.5 acres. But you have to build a really tall structure, right? So the smaller it is, the more vertical you have to build, the more expensive it is. So ideally, including parking, you probably need about 9 acres. So you have about 6.5 acres for the ballpark, another couple acres for parking. And so it's about, 9.5 acres. So we can work with a variety of sizes, and ballparks can actually be configured fairly creatively. So that's, different sites we've been looking at have worked. But again, it's about 9. I would say it's about 9 acres. That's probably on the small side, but we can make that work.
Alan, we got a question from Facebook. They said it was a federal works project effort that built Civic in the 30s. You mentioned federal help. Can you talk more about what you're looking for from them? And I would add, state assistance as well.
Yeah. So there's a lot of federal money coming out right now for economic redevelopment, keep the economy going and whatnot. It's a lot of money. We're working with state representatives to try to figure that out. We're trying to work with some lobbyists in Salem and trying to figure out how we can get some of that funding to build a stadium. That's where it's coming from. So that, there is a lot of federal money out there, and we're looking for it and trying to find out how we can apply that to the new stadium build or multi-use facility, whatever we want to call it. And that's really what I'm talking about when I say federal money. Now, there's also federal money that's given to the state, and trying to figure out where we can go, which state agencies we can go to talk about getting some of those funds to build the stadium that will bridge the 10 million that we have and get the ballpark built.
Awesome, great question. Thank you, Mike. That was from Mike Clark, another one of our city councilors who I know is a big supporter of the IMS too. I think that I don't know. That's one of the things that I really hope has a positive weighs positively, if you will, for the M's, is that you guys are a community institution. You've been around for decades, and almost everyone in the community has a story of how they've spent some time in their life at M Stadium, whether it was at Civic Park or over at PK Park. I do think that there's something to say about coming together as a community to save an institution like this who has given back so much to our community. You guys go well above and beyond just hosting baseball games. And that's something I've always been proud of and attracted to about the M's as a business in this community, is you guys really take that responsibility seriously. Yeah.
Thank you. We for better or worse, I believe we do it for better, but we do use our platform, as small as it may be or as big as it may be, to I think put out a message of good. And so I think we do that with our Monarchas brand. Being a Latino, I'm one of I think there's only like 3 Latino GMs in minor league baseball. I'm really proud of the Monarchas baseball program that we do, that's encouraging more Latino heritage and cultural aspects that are displayed at the ballpark. And for our players, a good quarter to a half of our players are Latino. It's a growing population in Oregon, and we want to make sure we do the proper outreach to them. And people were really confused about Monarchas baseball at first, but it's turned out to be one of our more popular promotions, and counts for about a quarter, or actually counts about, it was about almost 50%, but it's about 35% of our merch sales is Monarchas baseball, which is amazing. I'm really proud of the Pride Nights that we've done at the ballpark. We were the first team in the country in professional baseball to wear Pride jerseys on the field during games. We did that 2 years. In 2019 was our first year, and we did it again this year. And we did our Juneteenth celebration with Chris Singleton this year. Chris Singleton's a former player. There was a question asked about former players, and Chris Singleton, dear friend of our baseball team, played for us in 2016, is now a national speaker. His mom, Chandra, she was taken from him at that church shooting in the South, that Baptist shooting in Charleston back in 2014, maybe. And he played for us 2 years later. And now he goes on, he talks about love, and love is greater than hate. And we've invited him to come back out to talk about that during Juneteenth. And he's going to hopefully be back this year. We're trying to hopefully coordinate something with the 4J school district where he can go in and talk about his children's book about acceptance and understanding and relating to each other. So I think, one of the things that we love about our team is that we use our platform to talk about, social justice and acceptance while a baseball game is going on, right? And some people say just play baseball, but we believe that we don't want to do that. We do. I think we do a pretty good job in the community, and we're proud of the work we've done.
Yeah. Another good question. Are you going to try to manage or have the Truck Fest in 2022? That was a fun partnership with Kindle.
Yes, absolutely. We have all the stuff. We obviously couldn't do it this year, Jeremy. We want to do that again. We need to make that happen. We want to raise some money for the mission. And when we get the new ballpark, we'll make it even bigger. So yeah, our plan is to bring that back huge. And so that's a great example of doing it, doing more events at the ballpark, right? We did that on an off weekend. We did that over 3 days, and we had about 10,000 people come to that. So we would love to see that grow bigger, do a bigger show, a bigger concert along with the Food Truck Festival, and raise some great money for the mission.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that a lot more across the country. Stadiums as venues, obviously, that go beyond just the use for the sports team, I guess, that you're representing. And I also think that as far as quality of life is concerned, and again, our chamber's mission is economic prosperity and building the best community that we possibly can. And there is a quality of life element that is included in an initiative to create more entertainment and more exciting opportunities for families, to have reasons to come together. And so I think it just is another sort of feather in the hat for the M's and for a facility like this that can add to our ability to do that as a community.
Valerie asked a question about, will the architects and construction company be local companies? The answer is yes, for the most part. All the local construction work and everything will be local. We'll do a community benefits agreement, as this will be a public-private partnership, I hope. What's the only way it can happen. We'll actually do prevailing wages and all that. But we need to make sure that is very important to make sure that this happens and it benefits the economic output that the construction will do. The architects will be working with some local firms, hopefully using a national firm that specializes in baseball stadiums. That's up in the air, but in the past, we worked with a company called Populous. Populous is a award-winning baseball stadium facilities design firm. And that, we have one shot at building the right venue, and we need to make sure that happens. So.
Awesome. Any other questions from the crowd? I'm just checking Facebook.
Yeah, we have Brian Erickson asked, how long is your affiliation with the Giants, and will you switch to the Dodgers? Oh, that's a great question. As many of
Music
you know,
to Alan's ears.
No, stop. And if the Giants are watching, I love the partnership with the Giants. They have been amazing. I mean, let me just start with that. Okay, so everybody knows I'm born in LA. Okay, my mom is a massive Dodgers fan, and grew up a Dodgers fan. But in the business I work, you get your affiliates, and the Giants have been great. Right now, it's the Giants and Dodgers going at each other, and it's causing a lot of family trauma. But the Giants are the affiliate that we need in this market. They're the biggest team in this market. They have the #1 fan base in our market, and you can see it. The best part, though, about the Giants, that's a great question. The Giants, since we have changed to a Giants affiliate, I have never seen so many Dodger hats at the stadium. It's like all the fans I am not going to a Giants affiliate without wearing my Dodgers gear. And so it's amazing how much Dodgers gear you see at the ballpark for games. It's really funny. It's really funny.
Oh, that's good. I do think that there is so much value in having a Giants affiliation, though. Just obviously, the proximity to that team and the amount of fans here. So,
see, I mean, somebody's really glad we're the Giants. I mean, when we switched to the Cubs, we had a ton of people, because the biggest teams are like the Giants, Cubs, Braves, Dodgers. Those are the biggest teams in our market. And
but I'm trying to bring the Royals up there.
Stop it. We were the Royals back in the day for a little bit, but the Giants have been huge. We've gotten a ton in the Bay Area fans. We get a lot of emails from them, and we believe that this will be a destination for Giant fans in the Bay Area who want to come watch, upcoming stars. It's a much easier trip for them to come to Eugene to watch the Eugene Emeralds play and see some recent draft picks that have been making their way up the system. And I believe that they're going to come and watch as we grow as a bigger Giants team over the years. You'll see we have a 10-year agreement with the Giants. These agreements used to be 2 years. Now they're 10-year agreements. So the Giants are here to stay.
That's awesome. Well, we are right up on our time, and I just want to say thank you, Alan, so much. Not only for taking the time to be here today and to share with the community the challenge that you guys are, I think, set to overcome, but also just everything you do for the community. There's not a single place that I go, whether it's a nonprofit or community program or event, that I don't see the M's or you yourself representing there. And that means a lot, the investment that you guys have made. It does not go unnoticed. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to everybody who stepped in to listen into this conversation. We have a lot of work to do as a community, but like I said, I don't think it's a challenge that we can't overcome together. And there's going to be a lot more of these conversations coming down the road. So stay tuned, stay connected. We are going to send out the presentation that Alan gave, just so you can have some of that information at your fingertips. And Alan, if you want to put your screen back up.
Let me fix that one typo, but yes.
Yeah, we can do that. Here, put your last screen so everybody can see there you go. Save our M's to 855-340-5357, excuse me.
And I control that, so we're not going to be blowing your phone up, but we are going to have some, action items that we need fans to do, whether it's email a commissioner, a counselor, state rep, whatever, to show support for this project. So we really need you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Please email me directly if you have any questions.
Yeah, thanks, guys. If you want to be in touch or have more information about this, feel free to reach out to the chamber, and we're happy to make those connections for you. And hopefully you'll sign on for our next month's webinar. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.